Whenever we go to these places, we always want to see the tourist traps. We also want to show you the abandoned areas, the local art and graffiti. So we always make sure to show you both.
Cotton is changing the way Americans live. In time, it will blow the nation apart.
The building was abandoned years ago.
Fire crews are investigating the house fire.
Mr. DL.
Lowell police arrested a second suspect early this morning in the case of a deadly home invasion.
The man they're looking for has a history of violence. He spent almost 10 years in jail for kidnapping and assault.
He is crazy.
Fire, investigators said, broke out on the upper 2 floors of this old mill building.
Police had already arrested a 41-year-old Lowell man, the second suspect, a 24-year-old Draycott man.
Before anyone else gets hurt. Reporting live in Lowell tonight.
In Lowell are searching for a 53-year-old homeless man after finding another man murdered in his house on Wilder Street.
Lowell, Massachusetts, aka Mill City. This is one of the first properties I wanted to show you in Lowell, Massachusetts. This is your typical abandoned northeast building. All I know about this place is the location is right on the canal, but it's hidden behind a neighborhood of car mechanics. They want $2 million for this place. Let's check this out. Although the city has been cleaned up from what it was in the past, in the 80s and the 90s, this city is responsible for my love of urban decay. So after snooping around this place for about an hour, I realized this used to be an old taxi company right here in Lowell, Massachusetts. Now it's an apartment for homeless people. As inside this building, I found rooms, beds, PlayStations, and televisions, which leads me to believe that there's still power in this building. So I stayed here for a little while, as I'm sure I was looked at from the shadows. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to get those shots. These ones are often more stressful than going into the big, huge abandoned mills and factories, because in these ones, there's people living in here. And even though it's not their house, technically, you're still walking into their house where they live. And, yeah, so here I'm just walking around. I stayed in here for about a half an hour, just checking it out. Yeah, these are just all over the place, these kind of abandoned properties. But the big ones, they've cleaned up. So let's check out the rest of Lowell, Massachusetts.
The first with this video, a woman in police custody, unconscious. She died in that holding cell.
She had no pulse, but no one called for an ambulance until 13 minutes later.
This city was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, and it was powered here by the Pawtucket Falls on the Merrimack River. This is Pawtucket Falls on the Merrimack River in Lowell, Massachusetts. And although from this angle it doesn't look like much, this waterfall powered the Industrial Revolution in the United States. This waterfall here may not look like a lot, but this waterfall here provided power to most of the factories. Lowell has so many touching suburbs that they all lived off of Lowell and the river. It was the largest American textile center. Dammed up. The Industrial Revolution was powered right here.
The power loom. Raw cotton comes in, finished cloth goes out. All under one roof. Lowell, Massachusetts is called the City of Spindles, a textiles boomtown. Population explodes from 200 in 1820 to nearly 20,000 in just 15 years.
They'd produce something like 50,000 miles worth of cloth annually. The Penacook Native Americans would use this dam in this area here as a fishing ground. And they loved this area specifically, like I said, because of the availability of salmon, and that they were able to transport stuff using the riverways. So usually that water's pouring over that whole wall. You can see they got the dam up. They raised that up. You come through those woods over there, you can walk on these rocks around. The local tribes used to fish these waters here for salmon and other fish because they were easy to catch, I guess, because it was so shallow here. That's the UMass building. It's definitely part of the skyline. You got that, the Sun Building, River Place. This waterfall powered the city's textile mills for 2 centuries. It's still producing power today, at least. All the mills are gone. They're now apartments for yuppies. What goes up comes down. A century later, the Industrial Revolution in this city collapsed, and the city went into a recession. In 1797, the first canal system was built. And they even had a canal that went from Lowell to Boston, but over the centuries, it just fell into ruins. These are the canal system through Lowell. Right here, there's a bunch of them, but this is kind of what you got right here. College. A 6-mile-long canal system produced 10,000 horsepower. Being a booming city with many low-skilled jobs, waves of immigrants came to Lowell to work in the mills. Originally, only 30 Irish people came here to build the canals. They were not... Check this out. So they built these, they dug these canals through the whole city, which isn't an easy task today. Imagine how hard it was then. I don't know what they got paid, but it says, when I looked it up, they said they were offered no housing or provisions. And also, fun fact that the city of Lowell doesn't want to talk about, underneath Lowell, there's all these stuff stored from the past. And down there are all these signs that say no Irish need apply. They hated the Irish. They hated the Irish. And they pushed them all into the area that I now live in, the acre. But what was the acre called back then? It was called the Paddy Camp lands. So
more than a third of the town works in the mills. 85% are single women between 15 and 25.
This is St. John Baptist Church in Lowell, Massachusetts. It was open from 1868 to 1993.
The architecture of this church is just absolutely beautiful. I love all the arches. The woodwork is really impressive.
This was the first Franco-American parish in the Archdiocese of Boston. It was also used as an elementary school in the 1800s. So I came into this building. I could tell they're trying to do something with it. There was like worker stuff here and this and that.
But look at all this woodwork. And then all these windows and beautiful arches. I can't even imagine how they did this, because they didn't have modern technology with like the cranes and all the things that we have, you know?
And slaves.
Oh my God.
And indentured servants and all that stuff.
I was about to say the danger zone, but we're not on the danger zone. Look at this stairwell.
Carry that upstairs for 14 hours a day.
Oh my God.
It's too dark to see.
No, and then you're at candles.
Yeah, and then come back tomorrow as soon as the sun comes up.
Yeah, and then look at all the windows, stained glass. Oh, this is like really craftsmanship. These are the things that in the future, if people don't apprentice to be, you know, woodworkers and things of that nature, this art is going to be lost. I think this space would be an amazing venue space. Like, you could have a wedding there, you know? You could have a concert there. You could do like a market and have just individual vendors there. This would make an awesome venue. You can keep the pews on the top.
But it was really empty, and everything I did echoed. They recently filmed The Walking Dead here for about a month. I don't watch that show anymore, but I might watch that episode. There was so much echo, I thought there was a security guard or something, but I didn't see anybody in here. So I went all the way up to the top. There are a few balconies in here. There's still the organ pipes are still here. The organ's still here.
The organ? Look at those pipes. And there's a lot of detail there. I obviously don't like this view because of my fear of heights, but really, it's a really beautiful church.
They've destroyed everything in this city. Everything is gone. All the original everything is just gone. They've made mills into apartments. They're going to make this church into God knows what. they'd rather have the buck.
Warning folks not to approach the suspect.
Lowell police and the Middlesex County DA's office are treating this case urgently tonight. They say a local man is the victim of a homicide and the suspected culprit is still on the loose.
Currently, it has a population of 120,000 people, which is one of the largest cities in the state of Massachusetts. In downtown Lowell, you can see the old architecture, the cobblestone roads, and many things were actually invented here, right here in downtown Lowell. We have the soft drink Moxie, which I find disgusting, was invented here in Lowell.
The traffic is horrendous. It's like living in Manhattan, but there's only 3 ways to get in.
Middlesex Community College. This is where I went to college, actually.
What you will notice a lot of in Lowell is homeless people.
Only on Boston 25 News, there is a growing mess along the Merrimack River. A big pile of trash near a homeless camp in Lowell.
There are thousands of homeless people in this city. There are dozens of encampments, of tent cities, and all of that along the rivers, along the abandoned areas.
It's not good for the city. It's not good for the neighborhood.
We did reach out to the Lowell City Manager's office for a comment for this report, but tonight we did not hear back.
It is a real problem.
More bridges, less people living under the bridges. Lowell is very diverse. It really is like a hodgepodge of...
Hodgepodge?
It's a hodgepodge. It's a hodgepodge of people. And that's great. The food scene here is amazing because you have all those cultures.
There are a lot of good restaurants down here. That's a good one. Espresso Pizza. People like these ramen bars.
This is the Lowell Sun building. It's our local newspaper. As a kid, when I would draw the skyline of Lowell, it would always have this.
Checking out the downtown area. It's really nice down here.
The Sun building that have the bridge, and the Sun building would always be in there. That's how you could tell it was Lowell right there. I've had a few articles written about me in this newspaper.
Nothing down here is allowed to have fluorescent signs. Nothing like that. Even Dunkin' Donuts can't get one. So they try to keep this like historical feel to it, which I like. But I do feel like downtown could be way more bustling than it is. It's hard. It's like hard for things to stay open down here. But they have some staples down here that have been here for a long time. I think the first CVS was right here, and even that closed.
And the world's very first CVS was right here in downtown Lowell.
First CVS ever.
Although Lowell is a much safer place than it was just 20 years ago, there's still drugs and violent crimes.
It's a really safe city. The crime rate's about, I think, like 4%.
This area is actually one of the cheapest areas in the country to buy drugs, which is why the routes between Lowell and Lawrence are so congested with drug trafficking.
I like Lowell. Being from New York, I like you're kind of in the city and you're kind of not. But I like that it has a lot of history. There's a lot of things to do in Lowell. And I really like how downtown has, usually if there's an event in Lowell, it'll be downtown. And they have all kinds of things. They have the International Festival. They have a film festival. You got to have a Puerto Rican festival, of course. The Folk Fest, Winter Fest, all the fests. We got all the fests. So if you like fests, come to Lowell. It has a lot of different parts. You have downtown. You have the mills. You have the more hood areas. And then you have the bougie areas. Kind of like every city does. First time I saw Lowell, I thought it was really big. I didn't think it was going to be that big. I don't know why. I just assumed that if it's outside of Boston, it's a small little town.
The main road there's the main road's paved, but all these side roads are cobblestone. This is where me and Chef Tanya had our first date right here. Tremonte Pizzeria. The place is really good. It's an old firehouse. Old. Everything's old. These houses have been renovated, obviously, but you can tell how old they are. Right here, all this stuff down here is just old.
This is a nice city, but there is no reason the rent should be what it is. You can thank UMass Lowell.
Well, they're doing the Irish dig in Lowell. Students from UMass Lowell getting their hands dirty with archaeologists from Northern Ireland, and they're doing it to learn more about early Irish settlers. The group is digging in front of St. Patrick's Church, land that has been free of any construction since the 19th century.
We have found quite a number of artifacts that are very consistent with the kind of things we would expect to be finding in a labourers' camp in the Republic of Ireland.
Everyone here is becoming a part of history or actually uncovering parts of history that we didn't know before. It's very exciting.
So this is UMass Lowell. There's a campus over here, there's a campus on this side, and there's a campus way down there. So what UMass did is they bought up a whole bunch of property in Lowell and paid no taxes on it. So what it did was it raised all our taxes. And when they came in here, this used to be a hospital right here, and I can show you what it looked like 12 years ago.
Here on Pawtucket Boulevard, man, it just looks like Oklahoma City down here. It looks like this building got blown up. They started tearing down this building. Look at all the metal and stuff hanging out from this thing. I'm trying to get up there. It looks like a bomb went off here. It's so wild. Just right down the street. Indo Joe was born here. There's still electricity up there. You can see. I want to get up there so bad. Maybe I'll try to come back at night. Yeah, this is right down here on the river.
But when they came in here, they just knocked down neighborhoods to build all this shit and didn't pay a tax on it. And everyone in the city had to pay for it, basically. So then the city told them, all right, you bought enough of this. So they decided to go to the neighboring towns to buy more of their stuff.
Obviously, you have UMass Lowell, so that brings youth into the city, 9 months out of the year. And when the students are around, it really does bring the city alive.
I found this place one day, and it just looked wild. You could see it from the road. It's right at the Lowell sign. You could see it from the road, the tips of these buildings. So I went down into there, and I discovered these buildings, and they were all abandoned. And I realized that this used to be a UMass Lowell campus right here. This was, I guess, the West Campus, and it used to be part of UMass Lowell. So I flew my drone around here, and it's crazy because right behind this place is a huge community of new houses, and this is just sitting there. One of the buildings had like a new security area built in the back of it with all razor wire, so that was kind of interesting. But I recently went back here and everything has been demolished except one building. But I just wanted to show you guys what it looked like here. There's definitely a police presence. They came in a few times while I was there. What I do is technically against the law. It's trespassing. I could even be arrested for it. But a lot of these people, when you go into these mill buildings specifically, what they get upset about is they didn't have any regulations back in the day. So there are definitely harmful chemicals in there. The floors are all rotted. They don't want you going in for many reasons. I'm sure this health issue is the last of their concerns, but it's something that they always bring up. The best thing to do is get in there before the sun comes up and wait in there. And when the sun rises, take your photos, take your video, and then get out. This area right here was kind of like funeral home block for a long time. There's a bunch of funeral homes on this street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, here he is. King of the city. King of the city. Mill City King, Bailey. Do the slow motion walk. Hit him with the slow-mo walk. Yeah. You know who it is. The traveling man. Mill City's own Bailey Posey.
Lowell right now is great. I mean, even back then, it wasn't all that bad compared to other places. But it wasn't you gotta remember, it's not Lowell today. It's like portrayed from back, and when it was going through its change. Lowell's a great place now, but I mean, it had its troubles. People, I hope they don't get the wrong idea of Lowell now, because Lowell's great. Lowell's it's revitalized. It's crazy now how it is.
Yeah, Lowell's cleaned up 110% from before.
The greater Lowell region consists of Lowell and its 8 suburbs: Billerica, Chelmsford, Dracut, Dunstable, Pepperell, Tewksbury, Tyngsboro, and Westford. Lowell, Massachusetts is considered to be the cradle of the American Industrial Revolution, and it was the first large-scale factory city in the United States. And it is responsible for the birth of the Industrial Revolution. The haters will tell you there is no single birthplace of the industry. It marked the beginning of the industrial transformation of America. So hate on if you want, but this is where it started. Nickname is the Mill City. Its name comes from the many cultures, history, and art coming together to create a unique and exciting city. The oldest buildings in this city go back to 1673, 103 years before the birth of America. This is how old this place is. And you can see it. When you look at the buildings, the brick, the architecture, you could tell it is old.
So here they have something more touristy. This is more touristy, man. I mean, it's cool that they did it, but they give you a mill and they're like, this is what it used to look like. You really, they used to have shutters like that? I mean, nice windows like that and everything? I didn't realize. But, see, down here they have a little area that kind of gives you the feel of maybe what it used to look like back then. Even though it's too done up. I mean, of course, they don't want to have it all run down looking, I hear you, but I feel like it's too done up, because it definitely didn't look this nice when they were down here.
The mills opened up in the early 1700s. So these buildings, they're old. They're older than America. These buildings that are still standing, old building. Some of the oldest in the country, I would imagine.
So what you'll notice about Lowell is they have all these cobblestones all over the place. And they keep them. And I found out recently that these aren't really even how they were back then. They added them in the 1970s to make the city look more historic. So come on, man. What are you doing? So then here's an area right here. So you could try to use your imagination. But there used to be 10,000 people down here working.
Francis Cabot Lowell, who the city is named after, went to England in 1810 and memorized their plans and their blueprints to build these textile machines, because England at the time, they wouldn't allow those machines to be sent anywhere but England. And this guy went there, looked at the machines, and was like, I could do that.
The cotton mills of Lowell, Massachusetts.
Wasn't officially charted as a city until 1826, with a population of 2,500 people. And in 1836, just 10 years after it was named a town, Lowell had officially received the charter as a city from the state of Massachusetts, and America's largest industrial center. In 1850, Lowell's population was 33,000 people. That's roughly what Lowell suburb is today.
When women really joined the workforce in the cotton mills and the thread factories, it changed the whole fabric of America.
So yeah, this whole place is a historical park now. Historical police coming up behind me. See all this? And all this cobblestone leads to this area. See, when I was a kid, I know I came on a tour here when I was in high school or whatever. And all of this was just full of machinery.
It was mostly women working in these mills.
Mass production of cheap cotton fabrics spawns America's clothing industry.
My great-grandmother Riley worked in these mills.
Their protest against wage cuts is one of the first strikes in U.S. history, and they will win.
They came into work from all over the world. The workers initially recruited by the corporations were daughters of New England farmers, typically between the ages of 15 and 35. They built a place called Canopy Lake Park, which still exists, for these girls to have somewhere to go. And they would take a train up there, do what they did, and then come back. Many, many immigrants over the years have come to Lowell before unions, before proper hours of work, whatever. These girls would work all day long, all day in these mills, some of them dying, getting sick, getting injured badly for a $3 pay a week. These women were dubbed the mill girls. In the late 19th and 20th centuries, approximately 50% of Lowell's 112,000 residents were foreign-born.
Another thing they have out here was trolleys, bringing people back and forth to the mills, to their houses. There's a amusement park. They do summer concert series here on this stage. People sit up there in the, watch them from down there. But I always thought this stage looked cool with all the vines growing all over it. I always thought this looked kind of crazy. But this is right here in downtown Lowell. Everybody watches it from right here. And during the summertime, there's a thing called the Folk Festival. This whole city is lined with thousands of people, vendors, food, all that stuff.
The American Civil War shut down many of the mills temporarily when they sold off their cotton stockpiles. They probably made more money just selling the raw materials than they did selling the finished materials. After the war, the mills came back to life. So although they've rebuilt all the mills for a buck, there are still places all over this city, like this, for example. These small, old, run-down buildings that are still left abandoned and vacant. When I was a kid, though, there were so many of these. Now they're few and far between because the city is cleaning it up. But as you can see, these have been here. These have been here for decades at least.
This is grimy. I actually shot a music video here years ago.
The abandoned buildings here look like you could film a scary movie in them. They're hardcore abandoned, as I like to say. There's different levels of abandonment. There's, just abandoned, right? There's, been here for a year. And then there's those abandons, if that's a word, the bandos, where Mr. DL likes to climb in, and I'm just worried that he's going to fall through the floor. So, we got a lot of fall through the floor bandos.
These ones here, like, they're dilapidated and everything, but I think people might still be using these ones. People don't really notice that they're there, but they're just sitting right there, and once you know they're there, you're like, oh wow, there's two huge abandoned buildings right there. This building right here used to be a jam room for musicians back when I was back in like 2000. So this has probably been abandoned. This building here has probably been abandoned for at least 10 years. Some of this stuff is so decayed.
It used to be a jam room for bands. You come here with your band, there'd be like 20 or so rooms up in here.
That I feel like it's been there for 50 years just sitting there. But like I said, you'll find these little areas all over the city. If you're looking, you'll see them. Jack Kerouac, who is an American novelist and poet, is from Lowell, Massachusetts. And in downtown Lowell, he has his own park. And he has influenced icons such as Bob Dylan, Jerry Garcia, The Doors, and the Beatles.
Well, of course, he started a cultural revolution of unprecedented worldwide extent.
Yet he didn't acknowledge it.
Well, he didn't acknowledge it, but he was one of the people instrumental in starting it.
Oh, I mean, in what sense?
Well, the whole beat movement,
well, in what,
which has become a worldwide cultural revolution, absolutely unprecedented. There's never been anything like it before. And then their affiliation with the political activists, all that went on in the 60s. Although the Beats were originally non-political, others who were political were really following the Beat movement to its logical conclusion.
But Kerouac didn't seem to have any sense of that or desire for it or acceptance of it. I mean,
well, no, he didn't. He was completely apolitical. I don't think he ever took part in a demonstration or signed a petition. But he started it.
So it's cool. They got all his poems up here, some of his works, some of his writings, quotes. I'm not going to tell you what they say in case you want to come see them for yourself. But this is it right here. Downtown Lowell, Jack Kerouac Park. Right under all these trees that don't look like they belong here. This is the abandoned courthouse in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's been abandoned for a while. They just built a new one.
Up until very recently, maybe a year or so, this was Lowell's district courthouse. You got in trouble in Drakeid or Tewksbury or Tingsboro, this is where you were coming. And they've recently closed it and opened up a massive courthouse right on the other edge of downtown Lowell.
District Court of Lowell is no longer here. Maybe about a year, if that. Look how fast it starts. Look how fast the decay begins.
This city even once had a minor league affiliate of the Boston Red Sox called the Lowell Spinners, named after spinning textiles in the mills. Most of this stuff I'm showing you is pretty accessible on foot. You could do all this in an afternoon. There are so many other parts of the city, but I figured I'd start here.
So here's a little area of Lowell that a lot of people don't know about. It's kind of in between the college and downtown. There's an area of all this art down here. Mill City Pride, as you can see. It's all this art down here.
This little area here may not look like much at first glance. It might just look like a graffiti wall. But this is one of those sections of Lowell that is dedicated to local art. So although some people will see graffiti or on a brick wall and think that it's not art, I'm not one of those people. But let's say you are. You could continue to walk down this path and see
just a lot of art with message. Look at this little scuba tank guy here.
Paintings from local artists just on these fences and on these walls here.
This little alleyway of art. It's kind of just hidden here. A lot of people don't know about it. This one's cool. Forsaken America, Lowell, Massachusetts. So yeah, this whole alley here is artists from the city. And like I said, a lot of people don't even know it's here. But it is. Lowell, Massachusetts, all the smokestacks, they got City Hall in there. Art is the handmaid of human good. So that says Lowell right there. They don't got an Irish flag up there. Give me a break, bruh. Give me a break. Like all these buildings?
The first telephone numbers ever were in Lowell, Massachusetts. The phone wasn't invented here, but we had the first numbers. Besides that, there were a lot of great people born in Lowell, Massachusetts. James Abbott McNeil Whistler, the acclaimed actress Betty Davis is also from Lowell. Emmy Award-winning producer of Good Morning America, Jack Riley, is also from Lowell, Massachusetts. Some notable people born in Greater Lowell include Jay Leno and Tom Glavine. And of course, there's well-known people from Lowell like Jack Kerouac, Michael Chiklis, and professional boxer Mickey Ward, who they actually made a movie on, taking place in Lowell, that won multiple Oscars. So Lowell is really famous for its art, famous artists, but what I enjoy is graffiti art.
We've been coming down here for decades to paint, film. We got all these murals, artwork.
It's not the only art I enjoy, but I really enjoy it. I'm amazed at what people can do with a spray can.
So this place used to be a disaster area. I'll show you guys footage from 12 years ago when this place was destroyed. Now they've cleaned it all up. They've paved it, as you can see. There's still idiots that come down here, living down here. This is the place for local art. This is the local art spot.
I'm not sure if it was always sanctioned, but it seems to be sanctioned now as the city has come in here and cleaned this up. They've taken out the railroad tracks, they've paved the road. Looks like it's a continuation of the bike path.
A lot of graffiti artists from all over the area come here. It's not just Lowell, but there are a lot of Lowell ones.
Artists from all over the world come down here. And it's funny because I lived here for quite some time before I even knew about this place. I've shot movies down here, music videos.
Yeah, we got some South Park down here. A little bit of Kenny, a little bit of Kyle, a little bit of Stan. So yeah, this is the place down here.
It looks really nice now as you're looking at it now, except these people who leave their trash down here. It's homeless people. There's some spots down here.
Lowell, Massachusetts.
There's some spots down here in the Poison Ivy Alley. These ones down here never change because nobody wants to mess up their sneakers, really.
Get your paint on.
For the most part, it's pretty nice down here now, but it wasn't always like this. Good thing I've been filming urban decay for over 20 years, and I have footage from back in 2011 when we were down there.
YouTube.
Alright, man, there's a spot. I'm 32 years old. There's a spot I used to come to when I was like 15. I used to get my name up. Everybody who's a graph artist out here knew this little spot was a spot to really get your ups. You could come here, burn a couple blunts, drink a couple beers, and actually work on a piece without the cops bothering you or anything. And this is where Mill City's finest. People from Boston have come down here to throw bombs up on here. And there's a couple people here I recognize that are still doing it, even since back in them days, like my nigga Avs, Avenge, shout out to Avenge and shit, and Emerge and all them dudes. These are dudes that used to show me a couple things here and there. And yeah, man, enjoy the view, man. These are beautiful pieces of artwork.
Tell them about the graveyard.
Yeah, man, and as you can see, there's been years and years of graffiti done here that they just got a graffiti graveyard going on. All these spray cans, thousands of rusty spray cans.
Literally thousands. I'm hoping you guys can see how many we see.
We down a whole entire, railroad track, and there's all nothing but spray cans over there too. You see the, mini graveyards.
That's not, well, it's garbage, but it's not garbage like you're thinking. That's all spray cans. A little bit of fucking munchies mixed in.
What do you think about how much they've cleaned up that graffiti tunnel since when you first saw it to what it looks like now?
Oh, well, we've gone from meth heads home to suburban living. It's definitely a lot different, especially they put the gravel down. It was literally just bottles, cans, needles, diapers, like whatever kind of garbage you could think of, there used to be down there. And now it's way cleaner.
So this is the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. I always thought their landscaping messed up the view of the building.
For quite some time, this was the biggest venue in the city before the Tsongas Arena was built. But this building was started in 1920, on September 25th, 1920. And it opened September 21st, 1922. So it took about 2 years to build this building.
Here's a better view of it, but the trees, they always mess up the view of this building. You can't just take a picture from the road here.
And it seats 2,800 people.
Yeah, there's a lot of great concerts have been here. A lot of great concerts. Seen the Temptations here, the Four Tops, Big Pun. A lot. Celtic Thunder's been here.
And I guess, I don't even know about this, but they're saying, or there used to be another venue here that held another 600 people. But I've never seen that.
Down there is the last, right, that one is the last mill left that they haven't touched. It looks like they're starting to now. But they've redone all these old mills and they've made them all apartments and condos and restaurants. And yeah, I guess no one wants to look at a broken down building, but you've lost a part of what made your city great, and you've lost a part of their identity. So here, this canal here is feeding out to, that's the Merrimack River out there. Yeah, they've lost a lot of their identity with losing these, you know, chasing a buck. Now we can't see them anymore. There's also a lot of these old churches here in this city. Here's a perfect example. I have photos of this building from over a decade ago when it was decayed. I'll show you those now.
All right, so this one makes me quite sad. This is the last standing mill in Lowell. This one right here.
All right, just hop this fence. Let's see what we got for our last Lowell mill. They are renovating it. What a shocker.
I'm not talking about, oh, we renovated it and now it's a movie theater, or now it's a, you know, no. This is the last standing mill in Lowell.
They're doing the whole thing over. Look at this. This is the last one. And they're doing it right here on the river. So they haven't got to this section yet. But yeah, this right here started the country basically.
They are renovating it up. Gotta get those bucks. God forbid you leave some history from your city.
The Industrial Revolution, which helped build the country, literally, started right here in Lowell, Massachusetts. And they are closing up shop.
This is an old cotton mill. This is one of those places where I was saying that they were making 50,000 miles of cotton a year here.
Yeah.
Women, little kids, 15 years old, 14 years old. And they would work here for 14 hours a day making this stuff. But it's just sad to see it go. I mean, you couldn't leave one here. Why? I can't wrap my head around it. I just can't wrap my head. Build a building somewhere else. They just put a little fence up. I jumped the fence. I didn't go inside this building because they really have it locked up. And I'm assuming the inside of it's just gutted anyway.
Damn, that's the last one right there. For all you abandoned junkies out there and lovers. I know you think that's sad.
But I wanted to show you, this is literally touching the river. All that hydroelectric power ran all these enormous buildings, that one little waterfall. Look at the size of this building alone. And it was run by a waterfall. It's just sad. It's right here in the beginning of downtown Lowell. Cross over that bridge from Centerville. Other side of that bridge is also Lowell. When I go to these places, it's always my main goal to find the decayed areas, the graffiti and the art. And I also, as a tourist, like to go to the tourist locations. I showed a clip of Mickey Ward talking earlier, and I want to emphasize that Lowell is a good place. It still has a stigma stuck to it that it had in the 80s and the 90s. But I personally don't feel it's like that anymore. But that's just me.
Trying to get a vantage point.
Looking for has a history of violence.
This place right here is always a good time. I come here a lot. I've shot a lot of music videos here. These mill buildings and factories are enormous out here. You really appreciate that people were able to build these things. And although they've fallen into decay, they only fell into decay because they were abandoned and left there and left to the element. These buildings probably still be standing and operating if it wasn't for companies closing this or companies moving there. They've made trains here. They fixed trains. They made clothes. They made fabrics for everything. This place was built as a rail yard to fix and make trains.
You know that I bring you to the best locations when I film this shit. A oldie but a goodie. We back for some new shots, new video coming soon. Man, you guys don't even know. Fucks up with jaw mugs. The things we do, the tetanus shots we risk, all to bring you stuff like this. That's where we're at today. Another one. See what we got here. See, this is the okay room. Like, this room's alright. This room's cool and all, but give you a little glimpse of it. So yeah, man, these are the kind of places I like to film in. Abandoned America, urban decay, the grit, the grime. So we're here right now.
This property, it's massive. Whenever I see these old buildings, I always think, how many fire exits? Because some of these buildings literally have like 2 doors, you know? These buildings are massive. There's a lot of history here. And a lot of them do get converted into other spaces. But it is important to capture history and give people a real idea of what it used to be. We don't appreciate the fact that in our day and age, you know, when our kids grow up and their kids, they're going to have a visual representation of our history, you know, and we don't necessarily have that for, you know, the past. We have pictures and paintings and, you know, remnants of things. So I think we should really appreciate it.
Gotta get a battery. Camera ran out. Off to it. See that? That's why I make the big bucks. Hey, man. I tried to tell these other directors how they're gonna end up. If they fuck with me, man, I tried to tell them a million times, but they gotta do it to them, man. I gotta do it to them. Even pants this motherfucker. He got the ass crack in the front. So yeah, behind the scenes of the music video shoot, I got the mosquito net on. Yeah, we here, man. Another dope location. No Matter Films.
This factory right here is on a 600-acre complex. There are a lot of businesses on this complex that are modern, and there are a few that are just left like this. You know, the places are full of contaminated soils from the oil and chemicals that they use for this and that. There's asbestos in here. The groundwater's poison. You just gotta wonder what happened to some of these places. So I'm sure people get sick and injured walking through these places a lot. Just imagine what it used to look like, and imagine that how many thousands of people were in this place at one time. See these long railroad tracks here. You could tell they used to just bring the trains right through here, build them, work on them, fix them, and then upstairs in this place is just as big as downstairs. And what was up there? What the hell were they doing up there? But this is on the Lowell line here. Like I said, a lot of these factories and businesses lived off the Lowell water power. And all the way out here, not that it's far, but all the way away, that's far from the river, and it's still benefiting from that. They turn these places into landfills, basically. Homeless condos. You know, if it's the summertime, stay up in here. If it's the wintertime, it's not going to be that great. People would come from all over the world to work in these places. All heard about America. They got jobs in America. You can work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and make $3.50. The dangers of these jobs working in these places. It's dangerous just walking through here. There's nothing in here anymore. I filmed a lot of videos in places like this. I've always been drawn to urban decay. I don't know what it is. I've always been drawn to it. And this area, throughout my lifetime, hasn't lacked that.
Lowell police say this neighborhood was the scene of a brutal crime Saturday.
A 16-year-old and a 19-year-old have just been charged in connection with a deadly shooting in Lowell last fall.
That last scenery you saw from this abandoned factory was filmed in the summertime. It's green and it's lush. So I'd like to show you what it looks like from the other times of the year. So here in the fall is when I think this place looks the eeriest. It always looked gloomy at this time of year. Just the trees had no leaves on it, the wind blowing through, making all the trees scratch against the side of the walls, and the broken glass cracking under your feet. It just had that eerie feel for some reason this time of the year. In the summertime, it's really lush. It's when you're most likely to run into residents. It does look cool and abandoned, but it also looks vibrant. But when all of those leaves are gone and it's cold and it's dreary, I feel like this place, this is the vibe of this place. This is what, when I think of this place, this is the time of year I think of it. Although Lowell itself is trying to clean up, and it has cleaned up, it's not even trying, it has. There aren't many of these huge buildings left. The ones that are left, they have them locked down. And the ones that aren't locked down, they've just converted into condos and stuff. It's sad. These buildings were rows and rows of brick boarding houses, this factory, that mill, and now they've all become like this or some fancy schmancy apartment building in the city. But just look how big these places are. Just imagine, all these people walk to work every day. They worked for like 15 hours a day at these crazy jobs, life-risking jobs, and then walked home to sleep a little bit, eat, come right back. But yeah, they made so much here, man. So many people were employed by this.
Fire. Investigators say it broke out on the upper 2 floors of this old mill building were vacant.
All the windows were boarded up, and they're pretty high up, so we had to use ground ladders, and it was pretty difficult to rip the boards off the windows.
We're live in Lowell.
I showed you the summer. I showed you the fall. Let's go back to this place in the wintertime. The rapper Slain was looking to do a new music video with me, and I told him, hey man, I have this perfect location. I've never filmed in the wintertime there, so we should go down there and film this.
Get out of the way real quick. It's okay.
We filmed the video. I think he really liked the location. After he left, you know, I'm not leaving yet, so I walked around for a while to see if anything was different, if there was new art. This is when this place gets kind of dangerous. Not that it isn't dangerous, but this is when it gets more dangerous because everything's extra wet. There's ice on stuff. The roof is collapsing even more because there's all the weight from the snow on top. So this is the time of year where it's the most dangerous to come somewhere like this for urban exploration, but that's not really stopping us. They used to make a lot of things in these factories. I'm pretty sure they probably made just about everything over here. Mostly it's known, I guess, for making cotton. This place was fixing trains. There were other places making stuff out of wool. This was the first time in the United States, these places right here, where people can combine spinning textiles and weaving textiles in the same location. It might not sound like anything, but trust me, there's a reason why this blew up.
Ill-Mannered Films, we just wrapped up a video shoot for Slain. Shout out to Chef Tanya Nicole. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Mr. DL. YouTube, you already know where it is. Ill-Mannered Films, I'm out. Everything's just so old down here. Everything is so freaking old.
If you're trying to explore Lowell looking for urban decay, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think there's a lot of it. But if you're coming here trying to explore abandoned mills and factories inside the city limits of Lowell, those days are over. Been driving around this city since I was a kid, filming decay, filming abandoned structures, collapsing buildings, police, helicopters, art, graffiti, everything. In the daytime, the nighttime, I've captured it all over the years, so it's cool to be able to put this together and, you know, show the evolution of it. I've shown a lot of things that don't even look like this anymore, and the buildings aren't even there anymore. You look at Lowell now, it looks completely different than it did in some of this footage. So yeah, this has been another episode. Forsaken America, Lowell, Massachusetts. Mr. DL and Chef Tanya.
Catch us later. The building was abandoned years ago.
Fire crews are investigating a house fire.
Mr. DL.
Lowell police arrested a second suspect early this morning in the case of a deadly home invasion.
Man they're looking for has a history of violence. He spent almost 10 years in jail for kidnapping and assault.
He is crazy.
Fire. Investigators said broke out on the upper 2 floors of this old mill building.
Police had already arrested a 41-year-old Lowell man, the second suspect, a 24-year-old decayed man,
Before anyone else gets hurt. Reporting live in Lowell tonight.
In Lowell are searching for a 53-year-old homeless man after finding another man murdered in his house on Wilder Street.
Was abandoned years ago.